Bringing people and communities together on seclosounds.org.
Your listening station.
How to complain about your holiday and find out if the animal charities get more strays at this time of year. That's all coming up on the Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org. Hello and welcome to the Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org. Later on in the show, travel news will be making a return this week, and also I'll be speaking to Kellie Brooks from Blue Cross, the animal charity. I've just booked my pets in for our summer holiday, and the expense made me wonder if there was an increase of strays this time of year. So I spoke to Blue Cross to find out, and we'll hear what the answer is in a little while. You've been looking forward to your holiday for months, and unfortunately it didn't go as planned. So what do you do? Well, if you're booked through a UK-based travel company, then complaining can be quite simple. That's not to say that you may be happy with the outcome. If you booked direct with a hotel or car hire company, either online, via email or over the telephone, then you could have a long wait to have your complaint dealt with. That's if it's get dealt with at all. I know somebody who hired a car locally in France and there was a problem. And it took months and months to get anywhere, and the only way he got any movement on the problem was to contact his card issuer and say there was a dispute, and they claimed the money back. That soon got the travel company into the car hire company into action, but that's an extreme case. So the UK media is full of advice on how to get cheap deals and how to complain, but very little is said about how to minimise the chances of a problem in the first place. I guess advice isn't as interesting as reporting on a holiday nightmare story that could have been prevented in the first place. And over the last few weeks I have been going through tips on how to travel stress-free during this busy period. Problems do include lost suitcases, companies going bust. A coach company went bust this week. Low standard of accommodation, missed flights. In fact, the list of possible problems is a very long one. As part of your travel planning and research, you should look at the complaints handling procedure of the company you're thinking of using. I know, this is boring and nothing's going to go wrong with your holiday. But when you pay, you will be accepting the terms and conditions of the travel company, and their complaint handling procedure may be listed in their terms and conditions. Whichever company or companies you use to book your trip, always program the contact numbers and email details into your phone, so if you have to contact them, you can do it as soon as possible without having to rummage through paperwork. Use your booking reference as part of the contact details, that's if it'll fit. So, for example, you could have Virgin Atlantic ASD F78R, for example, which is your flight number, your flight booking reference. During this little bit of this feature, I cover various ways of putting your complaint together, and as I don't want to repeat myself each time I go the different bits of travel, I've missed bits out for, say, hotels, but covered it in airlines. But all the tips and procedures and hints can be used no matter which travel company you use. Just listen to the full feature and then you have a long list of tips and hints on how to complain if you ever need to. Always try and get the problem resolved at the time it occurred, so at the check-in desk or at the reception area of the hotel. Shouting and threatening violence to the company representative will not get you very far. Always be calm, know what you're entitled to, which is very important, and have a solution which you'll be happy with in mind. Do remember that if you accept any offer given to you at the time, you may have difficulty in taking the complaint further. I'm going to start with travel agents and tour operators. I know it's boring and old-fashioned, and perhaps some cases it can be more expensive, but not always. Don't believe what you read and hear about cheaper internet travel. But using a travel agent or tour operator is the best way of ensuring that any complaint you have will be taken seriously. All the travel consortiums and travel groups have a code of conduct that their members must follow. Some may be stricter than others, but memberships of these groups can be essential for the travel company to continue, so they are very unlikely to ignore this code. Of course, some codes of conduct are easier to find than others. ABTA's is abta.com/about-abta/code-of-conduct. The TTA or Travel Trust isn't as comprehensive as ABTA's, but you can find out how to complain via www.traveltrust.co.uk and click on the Holiday Makers option. AITO can be found at www.aito.com/y-aito/quality-charter. Some of the other consortiums could take a lot of finding and maybe a few phone calls before you're happy with what they have to offer. So, if a travel company doesn't have a logo for TTA, ABTA or AITO, then find out who they are a member of, go to that website, see if you can find the code of conduct. If you can't, I struggled with one or two putting this together, then ring the contact number on the website to say that's you want a copy of it. So if you're happy with what their procedures are, then use them. If you're not, move on, find somebody else who you're happy with. I mean, it might cost you £5-10 more to use somebody else, but getting the cheapest deal isn't always the be-all and end-all. Sometimes you need to have peace of mind as well, and it's worth paying that little bit extra for the bit of service you may need. Because going with a cheap company with terms and conditions you're not happy with could mean a lot of phone calls and time to sort out. So do consider very carefully which company you're going to use to book your travel with.
Gary Fitz here, every Monday, 10 o'clock.
Coming up, we've got Eric and Ernie.
Join me here on Seclo Sounds.
In your smile.
It's from 1975. Eric and Ernie were four.
Gary, it's not Eric and Ernie, it's Earl and Ernie, the Cape Brothers, Union Man.
Oh, I see.
Gary Fitz here, every Monday, 10 o'clock.
Earl and Ernie.
You're listening to the John Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org. Still to come in the travel show, how to react if you see a dog in a hot car in a car park while you're out and about this summer. But at the moment I'm speaking about how to complain. I've covered the introduction into complaining, travel agents and tour operators. I'm now going to move on to hotels and airlines. Now hotels. You've done all your research, you've checked all the review websites, everything looks good, but you still had a problem while you were staying there. Just like most other travel companies, it's very easy on a hotel website to find out why they're the cheapest and their cheapest price guarantee. Finding out what a booking would actually guarantee you can take some investigating. I had a look at the booking terms and conditions for a Hilton hotel. Finding the Fountain of Youth might have been easier. There is a reservations FAQ, frequently asked questions, but clicking on the link only takes you back to the page that tells you there is a reservations FAQ. And I lost the will to live when I looked at the site uses agreement I had to accept before making a booking, even putting the Internet Explorer onto 400% view to try and read all the small print. It was still heavy going and none of it seemed relevant to actually making a booking. So there was no hint on how complaints might be handled, so take care when booking direct with a hotel. So allow a lot of extra time when you're doing your travel research to find your way through all the different web pages to find out what the terms and conditions or booking guarantees are. But you're at a hotel, you've got a problem, how should you complain? Well, the first thing is to make your complaint immediately, as I'd already mentioned. Especially when you're still at the hotel, there's no point trying to complain about it after you've checked out. A little fuss, but controlled fuss and not ranting can be effective. More effective than sending an email to customer services a few weeks later. You should always have evidence to back up your claim, and this could be photos, videos, or even if you can go all reporter, investigative journalist and get statements from other hotel residents, I guess. If the hotel can't resolve the complaint immediately, then you should continue to follow up by phone or email when you return home. And also your local trading standards office may be able to help as well. Airlines, well, you can investigate airlines in the same way as you can hotels, but few people seem to bother. Also, if there isn't much competition on your route, then perhaps it's not worth spending a lot of time checking out the airlines to find out which is the best. If there are only two, they're probably both going to be poor, to be honest, but you can look up airlinequality.com to find out how the airlines are, so at least you can be prepared about what the level of service is going to be when you're sitting in your chair. When it comes to airlines, some of the most common problems include lost or delayed luggage, overbooked flights, and delayed flights. The good news is that EU 261 covers most of the problems when a flight departs from the European Union, and if you're flying back into the EU, you are covered if you're using an airline that's based in an EU country. I've covered EU 261 on numerous occasions over the last 2 years of the John Guinn Travel Show, so I won't run through it this time. But if you need more information, you can visit tinyurl.com/prgf78g, which is a very heavy going PDF of all the EU 261 stuff. Or you can go to www.airpassengerrights.eu, which is a more user-friendly version. Other conventions cover you when you're flying as well, such as the Montreal Convention and the Warsaw Convention. The airline should tell you what the rights that you have in the terms and conditions of sale. They probably won't go into detail about what these rights are. They'll probably just say Warsaw Convention, Montreal Convention. So you'll have to research them yourself. But basically the Montreal Convention is about death and injury while flying, and the Warsaw Convention is about lost luggage. Obviously there's much more about it than that. Google it, find out. If I read it all through you now, you'll be asleep in a few minutes. So, as always, before you complain, make sure you've actually got a case. Each airline has their own way of handling complaints, so go through that method first. As with any travel company complaint, always keep a track of all the telephone calls, letters and emails, and all the people you've been speaking to. If you have no joy, you could try contacting the Civil Aviation Authority, www.caa.co.uk. But when you complain, make sure you give the airline as much information as possible, so include the full contact details for you making a complaint and anybody else you travelled with and you're acting on their behalf. The booking reference, flight number, departure and destinations, airports and travel dates. Yes, I know your booking reference would have all this, and you don't need to put all the other bits too, but any excuse to delay a complaint may be taken by the airline, so if you give them everything in the first time, they've got less to delay about. Details of the problem, including the length of any delays, the description of the lost luggage, etc. The names of any staff that you spoke to about the problem and how they handled it. So when you go up to the lost luggage, make sure you get given a form to fill out, but make sure you make a note of everybody you're talking to about it at the time. Send copies of the receipts if you're claiming expenses for overnight accommodation because the flight was delayed and things like that. But only send copies. And also send copies of tickets and boarding cards to prove that you're actually on the plane, because you have to prove you're on that flight. So get all the information to the airline right first time. It makes life a lot easier when trying to follow up the complaint. But however, if you can't prove that you were on board, then all is not lost. For a small fee, around about £10, but could be more, you could try requesting for copies of all the information that the airline holds on you, based on the Data Protection Act of 1998. If you're flying on a journey with connecting flights, then I would always advise that you use a travel agent tour operator and ensure that the whole trip is under one ticket. For example, if you fly EasyJet to Paris and then you want to catch an Air France flight, if your EasyJet flight is delayed and you miss the Air France flight, EasyJet will not pay you compensation for the missed flight. And Air France even, will record you as a no-show. And being recorded as a no-show is a big problem, because any other flight based on that ticket is automatically cancelled. So say you're going Air France to New York, I can think of a destination then. So you're going EasyJet to Paris, Paris to New York with Air France. You miss that Air France flight, the flight from New York back to Paris will be cancelled automatically. So when you're doing connecting flights and you're doing different airlines and different tickets, then the route for a complaint is going to be a lot harder for you. So best off going for a travel company so they can book it under one ticket. Then it's the airline's responsibility to get you on the next available flight if you miss the connecting flight, and you won't be recorded as a no-show. Just because you're going through Air France doesn't mean all your flights are going to be Air France, because of the route network they may need to use a code share. But the important thing is to get it all under one booking reference. When it comes to airline problems, there are third parties that can help, such as www.flight-delay.co.uk, who have been on the show a few times and actually helped my brother to get €2,000 when he had a problem, and holidaytravelwatch.com, who have also been on the show, and they're very good at helping people sort out problems with any aspect of travel. You're listening to the John Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org. There's more on how to complain later in the show. As I mentioned earlier, and I'm going to mention again in a few minutes, I've just booked my pets in the kennels for our summer holiday. And it made me wonder whether there was an increase of stray animals at this time of year, because it can be expensive to put the animals in a cattery or a kennels for the 2 weeks you're away. Not only are you paying extra because it's the school summer holidays, you've got this added cost as well. So to find out, I contacted the Blue Cross, which is an animal charity that rehomes animals that need, well, obviously rehoming. And I was put in touch with, It was Kellie Brooks at the Kimpton Centre, which is in Hertfordshire. And we spoke a few days ago about this problem and also how you should look after animals when you're out and about in this hot weather, and how to look for kennels. So let's get on with the conversation before I get my tongue tied saying anything else. I've just booked a holiday, and the amount I'm spending on kennel feeds for my dog and cats meant I could have spent it on another holiday. So looking after pets is expensive. Do you have a rise in the number of strays and homeless animals at this time of year?
We don't, no. We have a constant amount of animals that are always needing Blue Cross help throughout the year. So it's not one specific period, it's continuous throughout the year. And this is like really beneficial asking these questions, because boarding fees can be expensive, and people need to think about that prior to actually even getting a pet, because we all need a holiday to go away, and the pet can't be left on its own, and we need to make arrangements for that pet. So that's another thing that people need to think about.
What should a pet owner look for when they're choosing a kennel or cattery?
Well, there's lots of things. Recommendation is always really, really good if you know somebody that's used a kennel and they're incredibly happy with it. I would say to visit the kennels prior to dropping off your animal. Go and have a look at their facilities. Talk to them about what's the daily routine of the animal. Talk about what the animal likes, what the animal doesn't, what dislikes, and different things like that. But I would definitely go round and have a look at their facilities and talk to the staff that will be looking after your pet.
What about those who use house sitters?
Again, house sitters, you'd want to make sure you're using a company that, again, you can either find references for. You want to find out if that company with their staff, do they collect references? Again, talk about the routine, talk about when they would be coming into the home. So you feel completely sure that your pet as well as your home is being looked after. If your pet is going to somebody else's home for the stay and they've got other animals, make sure that they get on prior to leaving and going on your holiday.
A few years ago, a neighbour asked me to look after their cat and it got run over, and I felt terrible, but there's nothing I could have done about it.
That's awful.
It survived.
That's awful.
But,
and it's horrible when the actual owners are away, isn't it, as well? Oh, poor you.
It was hi, how's your holiday? And by the way, you got a big vet's bill. Yeah.
Oh, and the poor cat hasn't. Did it survive?
It survived, yeah, but I'm never doing that again.
That.
Yeah, too much
That's
stress.
Horrible.
Of course, some pets are lucky enough to go travelling with their owners, especially if there's a pet passport. But what is a pet passport?
And how lovely for these pets to be able to share the holiday with their owners. And more people are getting pet passports for their pets. So the reasons why we have pet passports is it's like a register. So we know where the animal is. We know that the animal is healthy. It's fully vaccinated and it has the right vaccinations. And also the animal's microchipped as well. So the animal, we know all about that animal, where it's been, which countries it's been in, and when the animal's returned.
So you're putting your dog in the car to go away on holiday. What's the best way to keep a dog cool while your car's moving?
So there's lots of things that you can do. Obviously, you know, the windows can be open a little bit to let some air in, to let a breeze in. I would definitely regularly stop to let the dog out, to let the dog cool down. Always have lots of water available. But there's other things that you can do as well. You can get the little blinds that you put on the windows to reflect the sun out. But the main thing is try and travel when the temperatures aren't high. So maybe travel early in the morning or in the evenings rather in the heat of the day between 11 and 3. And obviously aircon is wonderful.
It is. I do like my aircon myself.
Oh, God, yeah, definitely.
How quickly would a dog get in trouble in a stationary hot car?
Well, what we would say is never leave a dog in a car on its own, especially within this heat. It doesn't take long at all. Even if you leave your windows open a little bit, the temperatures will rocket. So we would advise that you never leave a dog in the car on its own.
With all the publicity about this, is it still a problem?
It is a problem, unfortunately, and it's so sad, isn't it? Because campaigns, all the charities have been trying to get this message out for many years that, you know, don't leave pets in cars because the temperatures soar so quickly, and it's really, you know, it's thinking about where you're going. Do you need to take that pet with you? And so, yes, it is still a big problem. It is, unfortunately.
If somebody was to come across a dog in distress in a car, what should they do?
So, depending where the car is, if it's in like a supermarket, car park, then please run to the store and get them to put an announcement out to make the owner come and let the dog out. You can call your local police for them to come and help the animal, or you can contact the local, your RSPCA, the National RSPCA. But
don't attack the car yourself.
No.
Just in case the dog takes offence, yeah.
It's a very difficult one, isn't it? Because we're only humans, and when we see an animal suffering or anybody suffering, it's really hard. But hopefully, if the car's parked somewhere, hopefully the owner is incredibly close and you can get hold of them.
It's not just hot cars, it's exercising your dog as well. What's the best way to exercise a dog in hot weather?
Yeah, completely, utterly. And certain breeds suffer with the hot weather a lot more. You know, dogs that have really thick coats. You've got dogs that have very short noses, like your boxers, and overweight animals as well. They find the hot weather really, really unbearable. So what you need to do, you need to think about it. So you've got your early mornings when the temperature is a lot lower, or in the evenings. And instead of exercising in the hot weather, you can do things for your dog indoors. You know, there's lots of different toys and chews, you know, stimulate your dog in another way rather than taking out for a walk. But also remember about dogs playing in the garden, in the hot. That can be also a problem as well.
Okay.
This is Seklo Sounds. Join us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. for 1 hour in the company of Harry and Edna on the Wireless, exploring all aspects of the vintage scene and playing tip-top gramophone tunes. Harry and Edna on the Wireless, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. on seklosounds.org. Jolly good.
My name's Teresa Kelleher. Join me on Seklo Sounds every Wednesday at 8 p.m. for my show Inspired by Jazz. Each week I'll take you on a journey as I feature the music, the maestros and the melodies. That's Inspired by Jazz, with me, Teresa, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. on Set Close Sounds.
You're listening to the John Guinn Travel Show on setclosesounds.org. Still to come in the travel news, find out what happened to a passenger when he sent a tweet about how he was looked after by an airline. But at the moment, I'm speaking to Kellie from Blue Cross. We're discussing about how to care for your pets when you're away on holiday and when you're travelling around the country this time of year. We've talked about dogs in cars and pet travel. Now we're going to move on to cats. Accidents that happen to house cats. And also, we're going to talk about choosing a pet as well. What about cats? Should they be kept in this time of year?
As long as the animal's got access to go out if they wish to and come back in. I think the problem is when animals are locked out, then they haven't got that choice. So as long as the animal can come in and out of the home, the cat, then I think they should be able to have the choice of where they feel they can go. Cats are very intelligent creatures.
You've not met mine, have you?
You haven't met mine.
I think I have this effect on pets. They come into the house sane, but after a few weeks with me, they just go nuts. Some people keep their cats in all the time, and maybe they open more windows this time of year. Is cats falling out of windows a problem?
It is, unfortunately. And in 1 month, our Victoria Hospital saw 22 cats that had fallen out of windows. There was even one cat that fell from the 7th floor from a flat. It was allowed out on the balcony, and unfortunately it fell, and it received quite bad injuries, but thank God the cat's going to be all right. So it is still a huge problem. You know, and there's lots of things out there that people can do. So you can actually open your window, but you can have like a protection put over it with mesh, so the air can still get in, but the cat is going to be secure. So yeah, it really is a problem. So people need to think. I think if you've got the modern day PVC windows, you can open them a little bit, but they still lock. So the air's still getting through. But yes, it's a huge problem.
You've given lots of advice already during this chat, but we haven't actually said who you're with. You're with Blue Cross. Who are Blue Cross, and how long have you been around?
Yeah, a long, long time. And Blue Cross is one of the oldest charities. And I feel immensely proud to work for the Blue Cross because we really do some fantastic work. So we've been around since 1897. We started off with the horses and we progressed to where we are now. We deal with cats, dogs, rabbits, guinea pigs and smalls. We have 12 rehoming centres throughout the country, and we've also got 4 hospitals. We've got 3 in London and 1 in Grimsby up north. So we do the veterinary side, we do the rehoming side to find pets new homes. We've also got lots of other things. We've got a pet bereavement line, so when people feel they can't keep their pet, they need to part with their pet, or they've lost their pet through death, and they need to discuss that with somebody, then we've actually got trained volunteers that can discuss it with them. We also do huge amounts on education. So there's lots of avenues that Blue Cross do.
Yeah, the pet bereavement line. Perhaps I should have done with that a few years ago. I'm a big softie when it comes to my pets.
Oh, I know. And sometimes you need to talk to somebody not close. You know, and you need to just be able to talk and get it off your chest, because if you're an animal lover and you lose a pet, it's like losing a member of your family.
Yep, it is. But I'm not going to go back there. I'm going to move on before I start blabbing or something.
Oh!
You're based in Kimpton in Hertfordshire. How many animals have you got at the moment to rehome?
Okay, so today we've had already, and what's the time? It's 12 o'clock. We've had 1 dog come in, we've had a hamster come in, we've had a rabbit come in, and we've got 8 dogs coming in this afternoon. So we're busy. So actually on site we've probably got around about 35 dogs, around 20 cats, and around about 13 rabbits.
Yep.
So yes, we're always chock-a-block. As soon as one animal leaves, then we bring another pet into our care.
Of your visitors you've got at the moment, would there be one you'd be really sorry to see go?
I'm never sorry to see them go
No.
because I want them to be here for the minimal time possible because no animal should be in a kennel.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're going to a new home with owners that are going to love them and spoil them and give them everything they need, I just want them to have that. They deserve that. Every animal deserves that. So the way me and my team look at it, whilst the animals in our care, we care for them, we love them, and we give them all the opportunities, but we want them to find that happy ever after home.
Okay. What should people think about before they get a pet so this problem doesn't happen?
There's lots that people need to think about, and this is where the internet is fantastic as well, because they need to think about the type of pet that's going to suit their lifestyle. Also have a look at the time they've got to give a pet. Financially, they really need to think about, because vet bills are incredibly high. It's the feeding, it's the vaccination, the preventative treatment. So they need to think about if they can give that to their new pet before they actually decide which pet is going to be good for them. You know, if you're looking for a dog, then do lots of research about the different breeds, what those individual breeds need from a home. So lots of research and picking up the phone and talking to charities like the Blue Cross about, you know, what sort of animal would be right for them.
You can contact us or just keep up to date with travel news at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show.
This is Seclo Sounds, your community radio station. If you'd like to volunteer some of your time and skills with Seclo Sounds, send an email to volunteers@seclosounds.org and let us know how you would like to be involved. MK Flyers Online, the fast and simple way to find any kind of business or service locally. Find us at mkflyersonline.co.uk or download the MK Flyers mobile app from your app store. MK Flyers Online proudly supports Seclo Sounds, community radio for Milton Keynes.
The John Guinn Travel Show. Checking it out before you check in on seclosounds.org. Still to come, the annual report from a legal company about holiday complaints. But now we're going to finish our conversation with Kellie about looking after pets when you're travelling or when you're at home. I'm going to ask about what pets cause a surprise for people when they get them. They don't realise how much hard work they're going to be. And also how we can help such a great charity such as Blue Cross, help them to keep going. And as I say, later in the show there'll be travel news, including that story about what happened when somebody sent a tweet about the way he was treated. What sort of pet always seems to catch people out that didn't realise it would need so much work?
Well, I think, you know, rabbits need a lot of care and attention. I think people will buy a rabbit without actually thinking about what they need. So I think they probably are. And also dogs. I think a lot of people buy certain breeds of dogs for the look rather than actually going into what they need. So I think it all depends on the individual animal, really. And again, that goes back to your previous question, it's research. Don't buy an animal on a whim. Really think, because it's a huge commitment, it is. And you've got to think, can you look after that animal for the rest of that animal's life?
Yeah, when we got our dog, we didn't think it would be as much work as it is now. And, when it was back then, I mean, as a puppy, he ate the kitchen. He flooded it by breaking the washing machine open twice. I didn't think he'd do it the second time, but he did. But yeah, I'm glad we got him.
Thinking of that, isn't it? Like when you take a puppy on, they do mouth and do things like that. But it's putting things in place to help you through that, isn't it?
Yeah, we work through it. He's lovely now.
Oh, definitely. And they bring so much to our lives, don't they, Pet?
Yep, they do. Apart from this morning when he wanted to go out and I was too tired, but he just wouldn't leave me alone. Sometimes
it's the thing when you wake up and they're there licking your face, isn't it?
Yeah, there's plenty of that. You've mentioned you had a hamster come in and you got dogs and cats, but what's the most unusual animal that's been dropped at your doors?
Oh, it's so hard. I think, not in my time here, but I think they had ducks left at the gate. But in my time here, touch wood, it has only been your cats, your dogs and your rabbits that I've dealt with here. I'm sure there's lots of stories, but for me personally, it's just been those species.
Okay, that's good. With all the work that you do at your centre and all the other centres around the country, how do you pay for it?
Well, we receive no government funding, unfortunately, so it is through the generosity of the public, through donations and legacies, and we do ask a rehoming fee when people rehome an animal from us, but obviously that doesn't cover the cost of the individual animal's care, but it helps us carry on because we want to carry on and help as many pets as possible. So, yes, so down to the lovely general public.
Okay. I've checked your website out and you've got a couple of spaces for volunteers, but what's a foster carer?
Foster carer. We would love more foster carers. So what it is, some of the animals that come in our care can't cope with the kennel environment. They find it incredibly stressful or the cattery. So our short-term foster carers will look after these animals in their home until the animal finds a new home. So it could be, as I said, a cat or dog that's stressed. It could be a puppy that's too young to be rehomed. It could be a mum and her kittens, so they can actually grow up in a home environment rather than a cattery environment. Or it could be an animal that's recovering from an operation that just needs a bit of respite and then will come back into the centre for rehoming.
Go on, how often do foster carers not give the pets back?
Oh, I know, and it's lovely for that animal, but we get so upset when we lose them because they do such a wonderful job. But it is hard, isn't it, when you've shared your home with an animal and you've seen it grow and become well. It is incredibly hard, so I do understand how some people decide they want to keep the pet.
It's not all your volunteers are not all animal based. I see that you need somebody to help maintain the grounds as well.
Yeah, I know, and we've got a couple of guys that have been coming and doing some gardening for us, and it's so fantastic, you know, because the site is quite big here, and it takes a lot of time to keep the centre looking lovely. So with the help of these volunteers, it's been so valuable. It's lovely, and also they do sit with the kittens and the puppies whilst they're here. So yeah, it's lovely. It's just about being a team and working together so we can help as many pets as possible.
Finally, how can the listeners help and how can we find out more?
So, how can the listeners help? There's lots of different ways the listeners can help. If they know somebody needs help with their pet, then direct them our way. And also if they know somebody's looking for a pet, is to direct them our way. People can donate dog chews, cat toys, things like that if they wish to. Come to our events that we hold at the centre and just generally support us, you know. So how people can find out more about the charity is pick up the phone, give us a call on 0300 777 1490 or visit our website, which is www.bluecross.org.uk.
Okay, thanks, Kelly. Thanks for all your information.
Happy Radio.
Hi, this is Russell Hearn. Join me Fridays at 12 for a little pick-me-up. I'll be playing the music that stirs those warm memories and takes you to a special time and place. And Minnie's here with her choice of fun apps for your phone too. So for a lighter look at life and some songs you'll never forget, tune in to seclosounds.org for some happy radio.
You can contact us or just keep up to date with travel news at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. So the website for Blue Cross is www.bluecross.org.uk. I'm now going to go back to how to complain. Earlier in the show I talked about how the introduction to complaining to travel agents and tour operators, hotels and airlines. I'm now going to move on to covering travel insurance. If you've had to complain about a holiday in the last few years, please do share your experience at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. Travel insurance is meant to protect you, but sometimes you may need protecting from your insurance company. As with any other part of travel, you need to ensure that you do have a valid complaint. This is very important with travel insurance. Now, when you've got a complaint, is not the right time to read the small print. You should have done that before buying the policy. Never ever assume anything when it comes to buying a travel insurance policy. As always, when contacting the company, have as much information as possible to make sure that your complaint is dealt with first time without lots of delaying tactics. Of course, with insurance, if you don't take reasonable care, such you left your bags unattended, then forget about it, in all honesty. Likewise, if you didn't tell the insurers about a pre-existing medical condition when you bought the insurance, forget it. You stand no chance of getting anywhere because you lied to the insurance company and you made the policy invalid. So do read the small print and do tell them everything. Be as truthful as you can when you fill in the forms. All UK-based insurers are covered by the rules by the Financial Conduct Authority, or FCA, and because of that, they all have to deal with complaints in a certain way. I know that this is a long time, but when you put in the complaint, you should give the insurance company up to 8 weeks to reply to your complaint. If they don't come back to you after that time, or if you don't agree with their response, you can ask for a letter of deadlock. This letter of deadlock confirms that you and your insurer have been unable to reach an agreement, and you need this to be able to refer the complaint to the Financial Ombudsman Service, FOS. The good thing about this service is it is free to use. The FOS will look into your complaint and make a decision. The insurance company will have to follow their decision, but if you don't like it, you don't have to. And if you don't agree and you want to take the complaint further, you can take your insurance company to court. Now, credit cards can offer you protection under Consumer Credit Act 1974, Section 75. But of course, you can also have problems with card payments. Always check your bill carefully, especially when abroad. Keep checking to see if a promised refund has been made, or to see if something's been added and you're not sure about it. If you do see an error on your bill, contact the credit card company by telephone immediately to try to sort it out. If this doesn't work, then write to them within 60 days of receiving the statement where you found the error. The company's website will tell you what their response times will be. And if you're still no joy, you can then complain to the Financial Ombudsman. You've complained, you're not happy, what else can you do? Well, there's always social media to fall back on. There are numerous examples of rants about travel companies online. A lot are not suitable to talk about or mention on a broadcast station such as this one. But as I mentioned at the beginning, ranting isn't going to get you anywhere. To make the most of social media, you need to complain in a calm, rational manner. Actually be entitled to complain, because you don't want everybody in the world to make fun of you because you complain about something you shouldn't really be complaining about. A complaint that springs to mind while I'm recording this is that some woman tried to sue a hotel because she's claiming her daughter got pregnant by swimming in the swimming pool. Yep, you don't stand much of a chance on that one. And if you can do the complaint on social media in a unique or amusing way, then it helps to get the problems shared. And the more it's shared, the more grief it gives to the travel company and the more chances there are they're actually going to do something. So for an example of a hotel complaint, you can look at SlideShare. It is an old complaint, about 7-8 years old, but it shows you what you can do. And if you've not come across SlideShare before, slideshare.com, then it's a kind of an online PowerPoint. And if you've never come across PowerPoint before, you're one lucky so-and-so. So visit slideshare.com and search for Bad Hotel. This has now been uploaded a few times because loads of people want to share it, but you'll easily find a copy. Basically, Tom Farmer and Shane Atkinson, or Archington, again I'm bad at pronouncing things. Let's just say Tom and Shane arrived at a hotel to find that their rooms had been given to somebody else. And instead of sorting the problem in a timely manner, the person at the check-in desk handled it very badly. Well, anyway, visit, have a read. It also tells you how you should set out a complaint. It's a very good presentation. Also, of course, YouTube has plenty of examples as well. Probably the best known one is United Brake Guitars. So go to youtube.com, search United Brakes Guitars. This actually started as a song about United Airlines damaging Dave Carroll's guitar. It went global and it's now even a book. And of course, all these shares and the book would never have happened if he had just stood in front of the camera and ranted and raved and swore and shouted. He did a song, it got picked up, and the rest is history, as they say. Also, there's also the Small Claims Court. You can always give that a try. Citizens Advice Bureau can help you there with information on how to do that. The amount you're claiming must be under £5,000. Finally, in conclusion, and all that sort of thing, as I mentioned a few weeks ago when I covered the history of the package holiday, the European Union is looking at updating the package travel regulations. If the current format that's going through adoption, revision, whatever the proper word is, at the moment is accepted and made into law, then complaining will be easier. Under these new regulations, travel agents will have more responsibility in handling the problems. At the moment, they may try and hide behind their agent status and refer you to the travel company that they recommended. With these new regulations, they have to be more proactive in finding a solution, which would make life a lot easier for a passenger. Of course, there are already many small, independent, customer-focused travel agents that are already doing this. So if you're using a travel agent, which can be the best option for most ways of travelling, try and find one by word of mouth. If you have had a complaint about a holiday, then please share your experience on my Facebook page, facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. Let us know how you got on, how good the company were. I know I mentioned this a few weeks ago, but it'd be good to see who the good guys are when it comes to booking travel. You're listening to the John Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org. Seclo Sounds exists to bring people and communities together to celebrate all that's best about the city of Milton Keynes. We produce a variety of music and speech programs, and you've heard some of the promos in this show, and we're produced by local people and run by over 60 volunteers. However, there's always room for more, so if you have a program idea or a skill that you want to offer, please send us an email to volunteers@seclosounds.org. And of course, as we're all volunteers, we can't operate without the help from our partners, and one such partner is Interaction. Seclo Sounds is based at the old rectory, which is the home of Interaction MK. They've been bringing arts to life in Milton Keynes for over 35 years. They use the arts to improve the life chances of disabled people and others in challenging circumstances through shared curated activity. Their programs help participants to develop creative, personal and social skills. To find out more, please visit them at www.interactionmk.org.uk. You're listening to the John Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org. And now it's time for the travel news. After MH17, some governments and air regulators are a bit twitchy when it comes to flying near areas of conflict. Last week, flights to Tel Aviv's main airport were suspended after instructions from the FAA in the US. They were suspended for nearly 48 hours. The American airlines stopped straight away, and some other airlines were a little bit slow in to follow suit. But all those flying from the UK, apart from BA and El Al, did eventually stop flying. The FAA ordered US airlines not to fly after Delta Airlines Flight 468 was diverted to Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport when it was on its way to Tel Aviv from New York's JFK. While the plane was flying over the Med, there was a rocket fired from Gaza which hit a suburb in Tel Aviv close to the airport. And it began at around about 12:15 local time and was originally for 24 hours. Delta said it has suspended its services from Israel to the US and US to Israel until further notice to ensure the safety of customers and employees. The FAA said that the notice was issued in response to the rocket strike, which landed, it was around about a mile away from the international airport in Tel Aviv. And of course their instruction only applies to US operators because the FAA, says here, has no authority over foreign airlines operating to or from the airport. The ban, as I said, lasted around about 48 hours, and some holiday makers may be out of pocket if they booked hotels separately and not part of a package holiday. At the time of recording this, I couldn't find any stories of holiday makers being out of pocket, and I haven't been able to find out much about those who are actually stranded in Tel Aviv, but I'm sure that will be coming out over the next few days. But it does look like the ban didn't appear to be bad news for everyone. Some correspondents reported that El Al was accused of profiteering, as they said that the prices have increased by nearly 150% while the other airlines were not flying from the USA and Europe. El Al did deny that it was taking advantage of the situation, and they were quoted as saying, "The prices of tickets are set in advance according to the peak season of Israel tourism during the summer vacation, and was not changed because of the cancellation of flights of foreign airlines." They continued, "During the past day, El Al has made efforts to increase its flights and service." I wasn't keeping track, so I can't say one way or the other, but travel is full of coincidences. Always has been, always will be. But if you were caught up in the suspension of Tel Aviv flights, what happened? Please let me know at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. As I just mentioned, travel is always full of coincidences. After I contacted various media outlets about stress-free travel over the last few weeks, there have been quite a few articles about stress-free travel. Although, to be fair, the people I contacted didn't cover it, which just shows how poor they are at spotting good info. And now, after I put my How to Complain info together for the show this week, a law firm released their annual travel complaints report. So for the sake of completion of my complaints week, here is their press release. The worst 5 holiday hotspots in 2013 have been revealed, with cruises topping an annual list of the most complained about holidays for the 4th consecutive year. This list is based on the number of complaints reported to, how they see it as, UK's leading and largest travel law team at national law firm Irwin Mitchell by holiday makers about their trips in 2013. And often is the case for these trips, they were to expensive luxury resorts, and their holidays were ruined either by illness or the quality of the service provided. Cruises accounted for almost 27% of the cases dealt with by Irwin Mitchell, the specialist lawyer section for the travel, with Turkey 17%, Egypt 15%, Dominican Republic 12% and Spain 10%, making up the rest of the top 5 most complained about destinations where holiday makers suffered an illness. This law firm has represented thousands of holiday makers and recovered millions of pounds for them over 20 years after their breaks were ruined by injury or illness. The lawyers say that most of the problems reported to them are due to inadequate health, hygiene and food standards, and they're repeating their calls for tour operators to do more to ensure hygiene standards are improved in failing hotels and onboard substandard cruise liners. As well as family holidays, tourists have suffered ruined honeymoons, wedding anniversaries and birthday celebrations, and many of those who were seriously ill required hospital or other emergency medical treatment. So let's break down their top 5. Well, cruises, technically not a destination, but cruises have topped the complaints list for the past 4 years, and they show no sign of letting up, with several prominent outbreaks on board popular ships. Irwin Mitchell is currently representing passengers involved in a group actions against cruise operators following cruises upon the Island Escape, Boudica, Oriana and Thompson Dream, amongst others. And of course they're representing a number of victims of the Costa Concordia disaster, which you may have seen was You're listening to the John Guinn Travel
Travel
Show on seclosounds.org.
It's featured on the list several times in recent years, and in 2013 holidaymakers complained about problems such as gastric illnesses at the Pesarina Hotel, for which liability investigations are continuing, and the position on liability is awaited. Egypt, Sharm el-Sheikh and the Red Sea, popular for destination for holidaymakers, but many tourists are returning home with more than they bargained for, despite a high number of resorts being 4 or 5 star. Guests at the Holiday Village, Maribel and Fun City are among those taking legal action after their 2013 holiday, and their claims are being investigated by both Irwin Mitchell and the respective tour operators. The press release goes on to say that the Dominican Republic has made a comeback in the list of complaints for 2013. A number of the resorts in the Dominican Republic boast of being luxurious and are often of 4 or 5 star hotels. However, the lawyers confirm that there's been an increase in illness cases reported to them, in particular at hotels such as the Meringue and the Bacaca. I'm sure that's not how you pronounce it. Where there's a large outbreak of gastric illness during the summer of 2013, including bacterial infections such as E. coli. Tour operators continue to investigate these claims, and their position on whether liability is admitted or denied is still awaited. And finally, making up the top 5 is Spain. Well, it is a popular destination, so there's probably going to be a few complaints. In 2013, the law firm was contacted by holiday makers who stayed at a hotel after they suffered from suspect gastric illnesses, which was a blast from the past because this particular hotel had an outbreak in 2003, and when back then Irwin Mitchell got millions of pounds back for nearly 1,900 holidaymakers who suffered from the problem. The current claims from the hotel are still being investigated, and it's not sure who's having the liability yet. But it'll be interesting to see what Irwin Mitchell lists as their 2014 holiday complaints, the top 5, to see if there's been any movers, and hopefully for the sake of these particular countries and hotels, they'll have a good 2014. Well, that's the end of the travel show for this week. I hope you don't need to use the advice I've shared about how to complain and that your summer holiday goes without a hitch and it's the break that you need because you've been working hard. If you want to know more about Blue Cross, then again it's bluecross.org.uk if you want to volunteer or to donate money. If you've got your own favourite kennels and catteries, please share on facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. It's good to know somewhere safe and reliable to put your pets while you're away. If you have complained about your holiday in the last few years, again, facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. Please share your experience, especially if you've been kicked off a plane for sending a tweet. But hopefully you can join me next time on the John Guinn Travel Show on seclowsounds.org, where each week I'll be checking it out before you check in.
Around the
MK Pulse proudly sponsors Seclo Sounds. MK Pulse is Milton Keynes' local magazine, bringing helpful information on food, health, fashion, money, travel, culture, and much more to 66,000 readers every month. Plus news, views, and what's on from around the city. If it's happening in Milton Keynes, it's in MK Pulse, and it's available online at www.mkpulse.co.uk. MK Pulse and Seclo Sounds, the heart and soul of the city.